our journey through all of the portals of Universal Epic Universe has finally brought us to our final portal, which would be Dark Universe, which takes you through to the little town of Darkmoor. Now, the Universal fanboys and fangirls out there, myself included, I think this was probably the most anticipated land or portal or world in this park, if you'd like to call it that. And so does it live up to the hype? Did it live up to the expectations? We'll find out in our honest review of the Dark Universe at Universal Epic Universe. Before we dive in to Darkmoor, this is the final part of our series. So to this point, we've had 4 parts. We covered Celestial Park, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, Super Nintendo World, and last time, finally, we got to How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk. That leaves 1 portal left. Now, in the time since we started this series, a lot has changed. Number 1, the park is officially open, and it's been officially open throughout an entire summer. So that changes something. Now, as I've said over the course of the series, there is a lot of good artistry in this park, and I think without a doubt, it is the best Universal theme park in the world. There is no doubt. That being said, what's funny is there's a lot of people on the internet who will say, oh, Tom Corliss hates Epic Universe, hates Universal, blah, 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 blah. I think as we've gone along, I think it's clear, I don't hate Universal. I think they're capable of great things. I think very often they come short of the finish line. I think they come very close to building, things that are above Disney, and they just kind of cut the legs out from under at the last minute. Now, there are definitely things in this park that are at Disney level, and some of them that are above many Disney parks in the world. I think, as I've said before, I think there are many interiors, specifically restaurant interiors, that are unbelievable. I think the food game across this park is phenomenal. Universal absolutely stepped their game up in food and beverage. And I find myself, when I think about going back to Epic Universe, what I think about the most and what I'm excited to do the most is revisit a couple of my favorite dishes. The food was that good. And some of the drinks were, for that matter, as well. And so I miss those things more than most attractions. But I think we're going to talk about one attraction in particular in this episode that is the exception to the rule and is the single attraction that I would want an annual pass to this park for. And you probably already pieced that together. Now, so I just want to say, Epic Universe is a beautiful park. It's a very good park. Operationally, a disaster. It is a disaster. There is not nearly enough capacity in this park. This is factual. They thought they could put 40,000 people a day in this park. They have not even come close to that yet. And the wait times are insane. 260 minutes for Mario Kart. There are days where whole attractions barely open. And then the amount of outdoor rides. This has to be said. I mean, one of the biggest problems with Islands of Adventure, which I think before Epic Universe was Universal's best theme park to date, the biggest problem they ran into was they built a park in Orlando with a lot of outdoor rides, and in the summer, for 4 or 5 months that are kind of summerish here in Orlando, a lot of the park can't function most of the day. It's even worse at Epic. It is a vast majority of the attractions. You are left with Monsters Unchained, Ministry, and Mario Kart are what you're left with, and then the 2 shows. Those 5 things operate. The other 7, 8 attractions, I guess Celestial. I've seen the carousel go down for weather, so I don't want to say all the time, but the carousel generally stays open unless the rain is incredibly sideways. But that happens too in Orlando. So there's things like that. There's some other interesting issues that have come up. We're starting to see some maintenance problems for sure. Some of the walkways in Celestial Park are crumbling, et cetera. So I think creatively, the park is a massive success. They did a lot of great things, but I think there has been a propensity to overhype the park. I think even before it opened. And look, I think it's great that people get excited for things. That absolutely, we should be excited for things before they open, and we should still be excited for them after they open. But that doesn't mean we should be dishonest about the quality of a given thing. I've seen lots of people say, it's better than Tokyo Disney Sea. Look, when I say Tokyo Disney Sea is the greatest theme park in the world, that isn't a pat on the back to the Walt Disney Company. I know a lot of people out there don't like Disney these days. There's been a number of things that have happened either from a greed standpoint or some people it's a political thing. Somehow you make that parallel. There are a lot of people angry at the Walt Disney Company at this point, and I totally get it. A lot of it's justified, definitely if you don't agree with their decisions or you think they overprice the product or whatever. I'm not going to argue with you on that. You're entitled to that opinion, and it's a hard point to argue. But in the case of the Tokyo parks, that they're designed and built by Walt Disney Imagineering, which is a testament to the creativity and talent of those people. But they're owned and operated by the Oriental Land Company. They're licensed from Disney. So yeah, they are Disney theme parks, but really they're not owned and operated by Disney. So, when I say those are the best theme parks in the world, that's not patting the Walt Disney Corporation on the back and saying, you did it. It's really patting OLC on the back and saying they did it. And recognizing that with the proper belief and faith and budget, the people of Walt Disney Imagineering can really do the impossible. And I believe the same is probably true of everyone at Universal Creative. But sometimes, just like Disney Imagineers, the people at Universal Creative like Disney Imagineers. A lot of them, like the cross-pollination at this point, we live in 2025. Universal Creative and Walt Disney Imagineering have both now existed for quite a while, to the point at which most people in either organization have worked at both. And so at this point, it's hard to even say they're different people, because they're not. They're not different people. They're just under different management. So at that point, it becomes clear that the problems one or the other has are inflicted by the management above the creative people and not the creative people. And that's true very much in this park. If you watch those honest reviews, there were things I gushed about in Celestial Park. I gushed about Wizarding World of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic from a aesthetic standpoint. I love Super Nintendo World. The rides are a different story. But there are great achievements in this park. There are wonderful, wonderful things. As a full park experience, I think there are things to be desired and a lot of things to be desired. I think they definitely need to increase capacity. They were very short-sighted in their spending. It's not cheap to open what they spent, $8 billion, $9 billion, $10 billion, somewhere in that zone between the hotels and the park. That's a lot of money. But at the same time, if you're going to build a completely new theme park, you owe it to the people buying a ticket to that theme park, a full price ticket to that theme park, to have enough capacity for them to have an enjoyable day. And if you're not ready to open, you also owe it to them to work the kinks out and then open to them. That comes down to corporate greed for sure as well. They've spent the $10 billion and they cannot wait to make any portion of that back. That's how business works. Is it the right decision to make for your consumers? No, but it is what it is. So I will say that much. I look forward to a day where hopefully Comcast, the Universal Corporation, can handle this park and get it where it needs to go. They've proven they can compete. Again, there are things in this park that I think came a little short, like Isle of Berk, some of the Nintendo rides, and some things we'll talk about in Darkmoor as well. But there are shining moments of glory in Epic Universe that undoubtedly prove that Universal can hang. They've just got to allow themselves to do so. The management in the corporation has to allow them to spend the money to be the top dog. If Comcast truly believes they are better than Disney at this point, then spend them under the table and prove it. But in my book, you still haven't done it. There are individual pieces of Epic that are better than things at many Disney parks. But as a whole, it's not. It's not a better park than any Disney park in Orlando. I'm sorry. It doesn't have enough capacity to be that. It's not an enjoyable enough experience unless people don't show up. And I'm not going to give credit to, only 12,000 people went on Sunday and I had a great time. That's good for you. That doesn't make it a great theme park. It's a great theme park at 12,000 people, but that's not the intended capacity. That's going to blossom. That's going to grow. And when 40,000 people are in this park, it's going to be a disaster. The Magic Kingdom regularly has 50, 60, 70,000 people in it. And there are things you could do. Don't get me wrong, like Tron and Big Thunder and Tiana's Bayou Adventure and all those e-tickets will have multi-hour waits, undoubtedly, but there are places you can go and things you can do. There is capacity for people to have an enjoyable day, even on the busiest of park days. And that's simply just not the case at Epic Universe. Like when there is more than 15 or 20,000 people, it is a train wreck. It is well documented. I know people want to disprove those Google reviews, but those reviews are from real customers. Why are those reviews valid? You know, the TripAdvisor and all those things. Why are those things valid when the reviews are good, and then suddenly when a park gets a bad one, everyone's like, oh, what does that matter? That doesn't matter. It does matter. Those are paying customers giving those reviews. That absolutely matters. In fact, that's the review that matters the most, not golden ticket awards. And this is for any company. I don't care if you're Disney, Universe, whoever. I don't put stock in golden ticket awards and any of those things. You create and design and build these places for the enjoyment and happiness of people. Yes, the corporation builds them for monetary purposes, to make money, to have profits. It's a business. I understand that. But the creative people, you know, the people that dream up these projects, their goal is to bring happiness to people. That was the goal with Walt Disney when Disneyland opened. I think to an extent it was the goal of Universal when they opened the studio tour to guests in Hollywood. And through to their theme park experiences later, the goal is to put a smile on people's faces. And that is the award. That is the greatest award in this industry. And right now, I would dare say, for the most part, a lot of people are leaving this park frowning. That's not necessarily the fault of the creative people, but they were put in a financial box where they should have instead decided maybe, hey, you know what? Maybe we should have designed things with more capacity. Hey, you know, maybe I would have canceled X project and Y project, and that would have given us money for a couple of smaller but higher capacity attractions. Some of the onus is on them to deliver a park menu that handles the amount of people that they intend to put in the park. Look, most of that onus is on management, for sure, who I think have the responsibility to build a good experience for people they're charging $150, $160 a day to visit a park. They owe it to those people to give them a good experience. And why would you not? You want those people to come back. You want them to spend money with you again. But Epic Universe is a great foundation. But man, if Universal does not work on increasing capacity in this park within the next 5 years, it is a devastating mistake. And based on what we're seeing, I don't think it's happening. I know everybody wants to be like, oh, Wicked's going to happen, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. It is very clear that the next big investments are absolutely, down the road in the two existing parks, which you have to keep up with. I totally admire them for that. That's great that immediately they're building a new coaster at Universal Studios Florida. And immediately it sounds like something's going to happen in Islands of Adventure very, very soon. And something's going to have to happen to Simpsons in the not too distant future either. That's great, but the problem is you built a park and you've hyped it and you have marketing for it, and it's not ready for the people showing up for it capacity-wise. Even if all the rides do get to a part where they stay up most of the day, you guys just aren't ready for it. More indoor attraction capacity must be built, and it must be built soon, or you are doing a disservice to your guests. And that is the bottom line. It doesn't matter how. You could have the 5 greatest rides in the world in this park, and it wouldn't matter if every one of those rides had a 260-minute wait and 4 of them closed for weather most of the week. It doesn't matter at that point. Then you failed. I'm sorry. But the quality of an attraction is as important as the capacity and its general functionality. Those things are just as important. I know as fans, we love this part. The show is our favorite part, but it's so important that the guest experience be enjoyable. That is just as important as the show. They must live together in harmony for success to be found. And I don't think we have that here for the most part. Again, there are beautiful, shining moments in this park that I love. There are so many things in this park that I love. But as a whole, it's just, I can tell you my days were half and half. Half of them were exceptional, and the other half were among the worst, most miserable park days I've ever seen guests experience, like to the point at which guests were crying and guest services team members were crying. That's how bad it can get in this park. And I don't know, look, it is wrong to yell at team members, but man, after you get dumped out of 6 queues in a row, and we're not talking about previews, we're talking about after grand opening. They tell you should come to this brand new park right away, and you get kicked out of 5 or 6 queues in a row and you haven't done anything and it's 2 or 3 in the afternoon. You have every right to be upset at that point. Who should be getting yelled at is the management that didn't pay for enough capacity or decide to delay the park a little bit till it was fully ready. Those are the people who should get yelled at. Unfortunately, those people hide in an office all day while those poor guest services cast members or team members get screamed at by the guests. And the guests are not right for doing that, but man, you sure can empathize with what they're experiencing. And that's what I'll say about that. Now, before we go to Darkmoor, the other thing I want to talk about real quick is I'm going to give you like 2 minutes on the hotels. I've stayed at the hotels. I've talked about them in videos. Look, Stella Nova, Terra Luna, for the price are fantastic. They are, especially Stella Nova's it's in really, really close walking distance. For the price, it's not an outrageous room, but it's good enough. And the food and beverage options are good enough. And aesthetically, I will say for value hotels, I really dig the exteriors. I think that's great. I think they are just these long, tall hotel buildings, but I think the colorful tile and then at night putting the dotted starlights across them worked. It worked really well. There was a great creative solution to building a cheap hotel. And so kudos to them on that, because I think for value hotels, they are very, very good. I like them, and I think you should stay there. Where I think you should not stay is the Helios Grand. The Helios Grand is a giant tower of garbage. It is disgraceful. It is Riviera on steroids is what it is. I didn't think it could get much worse than Riviera or even Grand Destino Tower, but man, this is a dump building. And there are no benefits. On top of that, to have 0 benefits to staying there other than you have your own entrance into the park, which is always overwhelmed. Like they didn't think everyone in the entire hotel was going to go to that park. We weren't prepared for that. We don't have queue or anything for that. Instead, there's this tiny little security space and the line just spills down the hall, up this way, out the front door. Come on, what are you doing? And beyond that, aesthetically, it's ugly. It's an ugly building. It's not good looking. Inside or out, the inside's worse, I will say. The rooms are incredibly sterile. They're very blah. Thank God for, again, food and beverage, because I will tell you the food and beverage inside was very, very good. I like the establishments. We have reviews here on the channel. Please go watch them. I will say they did. I like Flora Taverna. Even the interior of Flora Taverna is not off-putting. And Bar Helios is I don't like the interior, but I will say as a food and beverage venue, it's good. But the rooms are very blah. It lacks creativity throughout. I think they had a real opportunity to do something very special. And I implore you folks, go to Tokyo, go see those parks and stay at Hotel Miracosta. And I know someone's going to yell, oh, that's really expensive. It's cheaper than Helios Grand, by the way. And it is the most exquisite hotel you've ever seen, even beyond things in Las Vegas or New York City or anywhere else you've ever seen anything even remotely themed as a hotel experience. And you tell me that the Helios Grand is anywhere even in the conversation for an in-park hotel of that level and that pricing. I think the pricing is egregious for what they produced. It is a modern, bland hotel that serves, it doesn't, look, it at least works within the parameters of the park to be a decent backdrop. It's not the prettiest building, but at least it blocks the outside world out from the back half of the park. But man, they didn't care about sightlines from Darkmoor. Other than one thing in Darkmoor, which I'll rant about for quite a while, that view from when you enter Darkmoor and look to the right and the Helios is just this big white clean building over the village. It's a disgraceful moment. It kills me inside. It's just not a good hotel. for the price it's at, it should be half the price. The fact that Express is not included is disgusting, and there's no real benefit to staying there other than an entrance that if you're not super early, you're going to be way back in line and waiting a while to enter the park from. But no, the rooms are very, very blah. The views are great. If you're on an upper floor and have a park view, it's really cool. But that's really all it has going for it. Other than that, it's very forgettable and very bland. All right, I know that was all a bit of a side journey from our point, but this is the final chapter. And honestly, I think that's the real negative part. I want to end on a positive note because I think a lot of things were achieved here. And I'm going to end on what I think is the highest achievement in the park when we get into this portal. But let's enter the dark universe. Let's enter Darkmoor. First of all, I love this whole universe they've created. I love the narrative, the story. It's fantastic. It's really, really enjoyable. It's this interconnected world where all the monsters, they all live in the same world, and we're in this town where monsters are a part of everyday life, unfortunately, for these poor villagers, whether it's the vampires that have kind of enslaved them or the creatures that are now being stored down below in the catacombs. I love just the general vibe of this area and the crazy backstory. It's very good. Now, someone did say in the last review, I talked about how grandiose, how fantastic the reveal was in Isle of Berk. And how I still think like the reveal that's still hardest to beat is Nintendo. Now, it's not really a portal reveal because you go through the portal and then you go through a tube and then you go up an escalator and then you come out of castle. There's a long way to go for the reveal. But I like the Darkmoor reveal as well. I like coming into town and there's a catacomb. It's a little more winding. There's a little bit going on there with the grave site and such. And you turn around and then the village itself is fantastic. I love the little village. I wish there was a little more to it. I think we all do. I love the misting bloody spike fountain in the middle, and then the Frankenstein manor off in the distance, and the interconnectivity of Victoria Frankenstein is drawing power from the portal, and she's drawing it through the village and to the manor. Those moments are great. I love. We'll talk about Burning Blade more, but I love the whole idea of the bell rings and it signals that it's, they've caught a monster and they're taking it to the Burning Blade to burn the creature. And you can go that way and you'll hear the villagers go through the trees and then the blade lights up. Fantastic. Phenomenal. Great storytelling. I love it. But the village is beautiful. There's so many great little moments. There's the little Jekyll and Hyde window where you could hear little vignettes of what he's up to. I'll try not to spoil too much as we go through here. There's a lot of great stuff like that. And what this park's greatest achievement is, I think, is bringing back thematic atmospheric entertainment. We talked about how much I love in Ministry of Magic, having the wizard police and the school kids and so much of that, bringing that world to life. In Berk, there's the characters walking around that land, bringing it to life. Sadly, Nintendo doesn't have that. They have the meet and greet characters, but there's not roaming characters bringing that world to life. But I think where that is best executed, and maybe it's just because the characters are fun and they were able to be a little more creative with them because they are connected to an IP, but really this is a fresh take on the IP. Darkmoor is where that shines the best. The Igor meet and greet experience, his roaming and his interactions, you've seen them all over social media. So much fun. They're so much fun. And then also setting the mood. The violin player that tells stories is a wonderful way to set the somber and intriguing mood throughout the village. And at the Burning Blade, having the monster hunters in there telling tales with you and you share your tales with them. And they ask you to do the call with them. And I love all of that. I love all of that so much. It brings that world to life and it makes Darkmoor feel complete. It's such a wonderful experience throughout because of atmospheric live entertainment. Beyond that, obviously, you have the Frankenstein meet and greet with the bride as well. The Invisible Man is a ton of fun. The place, it feels like a real town. Between that and the team members in the various roles at different shops and restaurants and such, they all bring Darkmoor to life and make it feel like a real place, even though it is so fantastical and beyond any real place you've ever been. You believe it and you are fully immersed in that world because of that entertainment. What sucks you out of that entertainment is that, I'm going to hold back the bad language, the foul language here, but it almost came out, is whatever the hell happened with Curse of the Werewolf. Or as I call it, Curse of the Warehouse, because you mostly see a warehouse on this ride. Here's the story. Here's what came through the rumor mill over the years. Obviously, when you design a new theme park or land, whatever, you start with blue sky and you start with a big vision, and budget sometimes dictates what ends up actually getting built. And according to rumor and innuendo, the Frankenstein experiment attraction was always envisioned, and then what attraction 2 was going to be was a show with a similar story to what you see in Curse of the Werewolf. That got axed, and it was decided, I guess, that it was cheaper and easier to do a off-the-shelf spinning coaster ride. That was easier to do. And so that's what they did. And I don't think what they took into account was that maybe they didn't know from day one the lawyers were going to make them put up nets around the entire ride path. Maybe they did, but man, Darkmoor could be one of the best, if not the best, theme park land like ever. And they just killed the whole thing with this. They killed it. Burning Blade is such a fantastic venue. That is by far my favorite lounge or bar in the entire theme park world. There is not one I think is, although I'll tell you, Beacon Barrel, man, I don't know, I got to go to Beacon Barrel a little more. But as of right now, Burning Blade's my favorite. I love it. I think the drinks are good. I love there being live entertainment in there. And that's something they've got over Beacon Barrel. Beacon Barrel has an animatronic, which is something they have over them. But for me, live entertainment, that interactivity, the fact that it'll always be different every time because your interaction with another human being will be different every time, gives the edge to Burning Blade. But the fact that that approach to Burning Blade was sacrificed to this piece of garbage roller coaster, and I've got to walk through the net forest to go to Burning Blade, which should be this incredible approach through the dark woods, past the manor, through the dark woods, there's the cottage, and then the Burning Blade, and it should be this incredible approach to that windmill. And instead, it is so blah, and it pulls you out of the experience the entire time you make that trek, and I despise it. I despise everyone involved in this decision to build this thing and ruin Darkmoor. I hate it. Hate it. It is one of the worst decisions, I think, in major theme parks in a long time. One of the worst. It's up there with a number of things I don't even want to mention because I'll just make myself angry. Man, it's not a good ride. It's not particularly fun. It's short. The show scenes are garbage. Like you go through a shed, and if you don't know where the werewolf is in the shed, you're not going to see it. I can't tell you how many people I've been with who walk off this ride and they're like, it would have been cool if you saw a werewolf. And then someone's like, there was a werewolf. And they're like, what? Where? Where was the wolf? There's a million puns you can make with this stupid thing. It's junky. It's a junky ride. It's a mediocre roller coaster. It's very bland. It's very unthemed. And that finale scene, the break zone at the end before the unload, is an embarrassment. How in the same park with Super Nintendo World, Ministry of Magic, with so many of the great things we've talked about in this review series, how in that same park is there a mannequin of a woman that doesn't move just thrown into a hallway? What? How did this get through? How was this the best anyone could do? It's embarrassing. It's like a bad Madame Tussauds exhibit. I don't understand how anyone thought this was okay in a major theme park. Steps Away is a ride where all of these characters come to life in a way they never have before through stunning cutting-edge animatronics. And 10 feet away, you can try to see a stationary werewolf statue, or this lady at the unload. This mannequin is it Maleva? I forget how to pronounce it, but either way, this is the curse. This is the real curse. I hate everything about this ride except for one thing: the marquee. This is one of the most beautiful marquees of all time. The sign is gorgeous. I love I don't want to use the offensive term. What was that? Nomadic people? Are they nomadic people? I don't know. Carnies. Let's go with that. I'm not going to say the other word because people have told us that it could be offensive to them, and I will abstain. But yeah, like those carnival carts, if you want to call them that. You know what I mean. They're pretty. They're really pretty props. It's a great entrance. It is a terrific marquee for just a giant piece of garbage. I hate it. I really, really hate it. I don't mind the load area either. I like the screen with the moon, whatever. It's fine. That works. But the second you pull, similar to Donkey Kong, the second you pull out of that station, you've lost the immersion. It's gone. It's so gone. Between the nets and you see all sorts of things, the warehouses, all the things you're not supposed to see that you see. And again, I'll repeat what I said last time. 250 years could pass and none of those trees will be thick enough or tall enough to block all the views that need to be blocked. And that's what I will say. Real quick, take a trip through the village. I didn't personally do the makeup experience, but I heard real positive things from the people on staff who did. I think it's great that exists. It sounds like people really love that and are passionate about it. Sounds like that's great. The Dr. Pretorius store next door has a lot of great propping. It's really interesting. It's on the small side, but a lot of great propping. And again, this park merchandise, the merchandise team killed it, park-wide. A tremendous job. Anything you could, if you love a particular IP in this park, they probably have every possible item you could want. Although I will say, someone made a great comment on the last video and said the dragon adoption thing in Burke should have been more of an experience like the Banshee adoption in Pandora at Disney's Animal Kingdom. I totally agree with that. Missed opportunity for sure. But it sounds like the makeup experience is more what people want, or the people that love the monster IP. But the Pretorius store is very nice. I like the store at the exit of Monsters Unchained as well. Great propping. There's actual photo ops in there, the operating table and such. Those are nice touches. They're great shopping spaces. And then as far as food and beverage, Das Steakhouse is, it's one of the more forgettable interiors for me, park-wide, but it's still a darn good one. And I feel really bad that I used the word darn. That's awful. I'll never do that again. It's a damn good one. Yeah, I knowing the backstory, I wish the backstory of Das Steakhouse was a little more evident to people going in that don't like either A, operate in the theme park world, or B, take a VIP tour so someone explains it to them. Yeah, but I will say otherwise, I think it's a really solid interior. It's very nice. The food's good too. I'm not going to spend too much time on Burning Blade because I think we said it all in our Burning Blade review, which I highly recommend you watch. But I love the show moment outside. The interior is super cool. All the monsters that were hunted mounted on the wall. Everyone that works in the bar is in story and in character all the time. On top of that, you have real live entertainment constantly going through the space. The most fun character experiences maybe I've ever had in any theme park are with the monster hunters that inhabit the Burning Blade. I can't say enough good things. Food and beverage, phenomenal. And then last but not least, DeLacy's Cottage. I will say that one feels weird to me. I get they needed a quick grab and go place. The menu befuddles me. The Frankenstein pretzel's not particularly great. It's good that there's Coke freestyle machines out in the open. I like that part of it, and so it deserves to exist. I think there could have been more there. So with how much was done food and beverage wise throughout the rest of this portal, I'm just really surprised that DeLacy's is so forgettable. And I think it shows. In all times I've visited, maybe people will tell me I'm wrong. Maybe it's picked up since then, but I never saw anyone there. Other than at the Coke freestyle refills, I never really saw more than like a single human being at a window getting something, which capacity-wise, that's great. That means you've done well. But maybe there needs to be an item or two added to this menu that makes it more of a hot spot, that makes a couple more people pay it a visit. Or maybe the problem is seating. Maybe the problem is you didn't put any covered seating or any seating at all in this vicinity. Surely you could go to the outside seating at Burning Blade, but I will tell you, like, Burning Blade's not big enough. Like, aesthetically and design-wise, I totally understand why they went more intimate and small. That's great, but at the same time, I'm sad because it's always a fight to get a table or a chair in there. And the overflow outdoor seating is not much better. And so if you just have like a pretzel and a soda and want to sit, there's a couple of benches, but those are usually full too. So I would have liked, and it definitely feels like there's room back there for a little seating area. I think it could be done, and maybe they need it. Maybe perhaps they should have it. But otherwise, I think that takes us to Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein Experiment, which is the premier attraction in this particular land. And I'm going to go and say this right now. It is the best attraction that Universal has ever built. And there is no argument. It is absolutely phenomenal. It is marvelous. I love it so much. And I'm so glad that Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey laid the groundwork and bit the bullet so that eventually someday someone could take that ride system and say, this is how it should actually be done. And I think done in a timeless way. I think every year I'll ride Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey once or twice in a year maybe. And every time I ride it, I'm like, oh, it's looking a little more dated. It's looking a little more dated. It's looking a little more dated. There are certainly screen effects in Monsters Unchained, and I'm sure over time, 10, 15, 20 years from now, those will have to be updated in some way. But for the most part, a majority of the attraction feels timeless, like it will always work. The first thing I will say is kudos to Universal for producing, ordering, whatever they did, animatronics of a great quality. This feels new for them in so many ways. Now, I will say the first time I was ever wowed by a Universal animatronic, obviously when I was a kid, there was a different generation, but the shark in Jaws, the giant King Kong and confrontation, those were incredible moments. In more recent years, the King Kong figure for Skull Island and Islands of Adventure is very, very good. And then I think there's a long stretch where it's like, even on like Hagrid, you're like, oh, these figures are kind of rough. These are not good. That Hagrid's kind of weird on that ride. But then I got to Jurassic World in Hollywood, and I was really taken aback. I was stunned. I mean, the new figures they made for that attraction are very good. They're excellent, in fact. And I've seen I still haven't been to Beijing. It's on the list. I got to get out there. And I know I've seen the dinosaur animatronics in that ride, the Jurassic World ride there, and they look spectacular. Cannot wait to see that someday. But Monsters Unchained, they really, really delivered on the animatronics. They're great. Are they the most complicated and fantastic figures ever made? No, but they didn't need to be. They're good enough. They're fantastic enough. And I will say the one figure where they really tried the most to push the envelope gives them constant problems and was a mistake. And I'm talking about the Victoria Frankenstein in the pre-show with the new age projection face technology. By new age, I mean what Universal chose to do, what Disney has done with the projection face characters, which they've thankfully gotten away from over the years, was the projectors inside the character. For Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, that worked really great because you could hide the lines with the beards and the facial hair, and even in the dark scenes. And then on Frozen Ever After, it didn't work so well. So Universal figured they had the solution, and the solution is to create a figure where you sculpt the the general shape of the face and then project onto it from many projectors in the room, and they follow the face. Now, a lot of things, and a lot more things, I think, can go wrong in this scenario than can go wrong when you put the projector in the animatronic. Now, in the animatronic, they've had their problems, don't get me wrong. There's problems all the time with those. But Victoria has a lot of issues, and when she works, it is stunning. Don't get me wrong, but it's very inconsistent. I think it was kind of a crazy idea to think like, well, the figure will just always move the same, and so the projection will follow her. And I don't think that makes sense. I don't think that makes sense at all. Like your figure is going to have problems, and if your figure has problems, then how is it going to stay on her face? And instead, you don't run that pre-show. And I'll be honest with you, without that pre-show, you lose a lot of important story elements, and you lose the emotion of the ride. What I love most about Monsters Unchained is it makes you feel things for characters. That is when theme parks are at their absolute best, when you feel things. They have such limited time to make you fall in love with a character. And the magic is when over a 5, 10, 15-minute experience, you fall in love with the character you're just introduced to and feel things for that character. Obviously, Frankenstein existed before Monsters Unchained, but this is a new version of the character, and I think they make him very endearing, and there's important plot points that are rolled out to you in that pre-show. So if you skip that pre-show, it means nothing later when he, spoiler alert, when he goes to protect his friends. We're his friends now because she told him we're friends. And so it's this really heartwarming moment when Dracula's coming for you and Frankenstein's like, no, those are my friends, and like shoots the light at him. That is such a fantastic, endearing moment. One of the most in theme park history. And to lose that because the pre-show didn't operate, there must be a solution. There must be. People have to see this pre-show to feel things on this ride. Emotion is so important to these experiences. And I will die on that hill. I will die on the hill that theme park rides are not just about feeling things from the motion of a vehicle. Emotion, making you feel emotions, is what makes these places so beloved and so special, and what makes this art form so special beyond all other types of media. But I love the queue is the building is gorgeous. The Frankenstein Manor is incredibly beautiful. Tremendous approach to the building. Love it. The queue is great. I wish there was a little more of it, but it's great. That extended queue is what it is. But the interior queue is wonderful. There's lots of great Easter eggs, lots of great detail. You could tell the people that worked on this project, this was a deep, great passion for them. You can feel it in every inch of the building. And story-wise, I think there's just so many creative, wonderful things they did to start to hint at what the story will be throughout the queue, whether it's a mural on the ceiling, whether it's, that Victoria thinks so highly of herself that she put her portrait across from her family members, her grandfathers, and it's higher up too. Things like that. These subtle things that imply story and start to build that world for you. The found footage at one point in the queue of them capturing the various creatures or their encounters with them. There's great moments. The bat that's in containment, but the vampire bat that's in containment, but clearly like he's kind of seemingly maybe in control of the situation. Those power surges, and you see him, he laughs, and he's laughing at us, so he knows something we don't know. It's all great. And then the Igor pre-show, another character. Again, the character of Igor existed, but this is a new, fresh take on the character, and it undoubtedly has made a mark on people. From whether it's the live actor out in front or the representation in the ride itself, another great, very lovable, quirky theme park character. This is a great pre-show. I love everything about this delivery. Eric Morton has made a point, which is he wishes there was a live actor on screen portraying Igor and it wasn't the sort of, Jim Carrey Christmas Carol CGI. And I, to an extent, agree with that, but I still think they nailed it. I still think it works really well. I love the addition of the model catacomb navigation unit that he's piloting around in front of you. I'm so mad that the lawyers didn't let them have their fun. So when the little mannequins got added, they put 3 of them in, and one is on the ground as if it's flown out of the ride. And I just, the first time I saw that, I died. I thought that was one of the most clever little things to make people feel like, oh, maybe, you know, we're not safe here. But now, if you're a lawyer in Comcast, this is a horrible nightmare for you because you're insinuating that guests will be thrown from the attraction. But look, we should, when you visit a major theme park, the assumption should be we are safe. And you should have all your legal handled in your spiels and in your system. Like, you should do your due diligence to make sure your ride systems are very safe and people are safe on them. And obviously you should have all your necessary warning signage and warning spiels and all of that. You've got to allow creative to have some fun with the material, though. We should live in a world where guests can understand that, the joke is someone. And let's be honest, any guest that would be offended by that is not even going to catch on to the fact that that mannequin is like laying on the ground there. They're not even going to notice. So this was an overreaction. This was such a great gag. Whoever came up with this, kudos to you, and I'm sorry that it will not get to be experienced by more guests. In that same vein, I adore the little wood puppets, I don't know, dolls. The little wood dolls of the monsters that exist around the base of this display. I said earlier that they made every possible product you could want. They did not. I do not yet own these wood dolls. Universal, you must produce these wood dolls, and I will buy all of them. And I think most people watching this video right now will buy all of them. They're incredibly cute takes on these horrible, horrible creatures, and they're just lovely. They are lovely representations. Please sell us them. And then we already talked about the Victoria. I love that Victoria pre-show so much. There is one moment that is a bit silly. If I can nitpick, which is kind of the purpose of these, I'm going to nitpick a little, other than the projection mapping thing. My nitpick is the line when Dracula and Frankenstein are interacting, and she goes, "These two just don't get along." There's a very serious tone with Victoria throughout the rest of the pre-show and the attraction. She's the serious one. Victoria, you are not the comic relief. Why are you providing a comic relief line? Why doesn't Igor just burst into this point and go, "These two don't get along, eh?" Like that works. But her like breaking character for a moment to be like that, like, no, lady, you're like the crazy genius who thinks you're going to avoid all of your grandfather's mistakes and resurrect, the reputation of the name Frankenstein. That's who your character is. Stay in your character, please. But the rest of that pre-show is immaculate. It's perfect. And I think it sets up the story well that all the guests can follow what's happening. And that's why it's imperative. But the most imperative part is establishing that emotion. Setting up that Frankenstein learns, that we're all his friends, and that means a lot to him. And so you get that payoff in the formal ride. The safety video doesn't get enough love either. It continues that motif of like the guests or the lab rats that we are. We're represented by little wood dolls, and so are the monsters. And I love throughout that there are bad things happening to the wood dolls. That's the ultimate irony, is someone in legal must have seen pictures of the addition of the wood doll thrown from the vehicle in the first pre-show and called him like, "You have to remove that, that's bad, blah, 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 blah." But the irony is that buffoon or multiple buffoons involved in that decision never watched the video, because in the video, all sorts of bad things are happening to us as wood dolls. And I hope they're not watching this, and I hope I didn't give that away now. But it's a shame you never get to stop and really watch a whole lot of it, because it is a fantastic little video. And again, shows that every inch of this ride had a lot of love and care poured into it, and a lot of really great creative ideas. And the load, people have talked about the load area a lot. It is a giant, beautiful load area. And capacity-wise, this is the shining moment of Epic Universe, man. This ride just keeps, it is continuously loading. They've got this ride system down to a science at this point. This was a great decision. And so the great thing is that capacity-wise, this ride is everything it should be. And then the ride system being utilized finally to its full potential in a ride of this style, it's perfect. It's exactly what I said before, is you have to have both. You can have the most wonderful creative attraction idea, but if it doesn't work all the time and enough guests don't get to see it in a given day, this is all for nothing. And luckily, in the case of Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein experiment, they got it all. They made it all happen. I won't spoil the ride. I won't go scene by scene through the ride. I will say I think the animatronics are perfect. They're exceptional. I'm very sad. My personal favorite monster is the creature from the Black Lagoon. At least he was going into this ride. And I'm very sad that apparently he was supposed to pop out of actual water and scare you. And that went away probably during the earliest team member previews. I think a handful of people got to see it. But it's gone and it doesn't look like it's coming back. Now, they've been playing with the lighting and such on this ride pretty much since the opening. And it's improved a bit, but it makes me sad because it's such a cool idea to have an animatronic that just constantly pops out of the water and scares people. And I'm sad it didn't work out. Very sad. But there's so many great scenes and they're so well laid out. The werewolf sequence, I love everything about that, and that whole sequence where you end up looking straight up at the ceiling and you do that turn, and then when you come out, he lunges at you, and that's the photo moment. I love that. I love that so much. There's so many great scenes in this ride. I think I really have to be nitpicking to find a particular moment in this ride that I don't love. Now, there were some early problems. There were some things they had to figure out. There were moments where maybe you saw stuff on a screen you weren't supposed to because it hadn't reset. The scene hadn't reset yet and you're already in it. One of those moments that particularly comes to mind was towards the end of the ride where you're looking up through the rockwork, essentially up through the cave to as Igor is activating, the sunlight amplifier or wherever you'd like to call it. There are a couple hiccups like that, but they've certainly gotten better over time, and I think the ride has, the team has certainly been perfecting it, and at least the last time I rode it, it was near perfection. So congratulations to them on that, but it is just a fantastic attraction from start to finish. It's so perfect. You get to spend a little bit of time with every single monster, and it's all the expectations you have of what that monster can do and what might scare a guest are there. And story-wise, it's just a really strong story. It's like, well, why are we encountering all the monsters? Well, that's because Victoria's captured them and she keeps them down here in the catacombs. But also in the catacombs, there's so many secrets, even those she doesn't know. Things she hasn't even been able to figure out yet or find. But I love, again, how much love was poured into this. The fact that they were like, we have to work in all the monsters. So even the Hunchback has to be in this. The Phantom has to be in this. Even if they have small roles, we want those monsters to have moments for the fans that love those particular monsters. And I will say, Phantom's one of my all-time favorites, and so that might be my favorite moment of the whole ride, is when you encounter him and the fire comes out of the organ and he's doing his thing and he kind of lunges at you a little bit. Puts a smile on my face. Love it so much. But again, I love that you feel things for that character when you realize Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster is on your side, and oh, but those are my friends, and I must save them, and it's such a wonderful little ending. I think it's great, and the only problem I have narrative-wise is Igor getting maimed. Now, obviously, he lived. We see him outside, but I don't know that's necessarily if that's super clear in the ride. It's clear that Dracula lived because we hear him laugh at the end. Spoiler alert. He made it through somehow, but otherwise, I don't know what else there is to say about it except it's pretty perfect. I think there were moments with a little too much black curtain. but programming-wise, they've done their best to avoid that. Look, could they've done a little more rock work? Yeah. But I think with the budget they were given, they did the best they could, and it should be celebrated. I'm glad they got a golden ticket. I don't think the golden tickets necessarily mean anything, but I'm glad this ride is being celebrated because it deserves to be celebrated. And if an annual pass to this park is available, this is the reason I'm getting it, this attraction. I think it's a wonderful achievement. I think it is by far, it's not even close, the best Universal theme park attraction of all time. They broke the mold with this one. And it's so quintessentially Universal. These are characters that they own that are such an important part of their company's incredible legacy, and they're finally being celebrated in a way that they've always deserved to be celebrated. What's not to like about that? What could be more perfect for them? And what I really love is this park is full of, there are two portals which are kind of the main attractions for people, which is Potter and Nintendo. And what I love is that those aren't Universal properties. They don't own those. I love that the thing that clearly got the most love and is the absolute best attraction in the park is the thing that is quintessentially belonging to Universal. And I think what that says to you, Universal, is you should put a little more belief in your older legacy IPs. You should believe in Back to the Future. You should believe in Jaws. You should believe in all of those properties that with the right creative people, you can make something indelible that will make you money. You should believe in that legacy product. And you believed in it for a minute, and at least enough in Epic Universe to make Darkmoor shine and this attraction. You didn't believe in it enough to give them a second full-fledged attraction that actually had, quality to it. But you at least gave enough to where they built this tremendous ride and this wonderful little area in front of it. And the burning blade down the street behind the net forest. Everyone involved should be incredibly proud. It's a great achievement, and I think it proves an important point that I hope management at Comcast will see and understand. And I know obviously there are rumors Back to the Future is going to happen in the Britain Park and other things like that. I hope so. I hope there is more to see from legacy IP and the legacy IP that Universal has. They have a tremendous legacy as a movie studio. There's so much to be celebrated, and it should be celebrated as much as they celebrate the IP of other companies, is what I will say. But Monsters Unchained, the absolute highlight, the pinnacle of Epic Universe, and the reason, again, I want to go back so bad. That and the food. I want to eat and ride Monsters Unchained all day, and obviously Stardust Racers somewhere in between there too. But either way. So that's going to do it, kids. That is our entire series, our honest review of all of Universal Epic Universe. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my assessment. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. If you want to support what we do here at UPNT and WDWNT, you could join the WDWNT Interglobe Society at patreon.com/WDWNT. And you could shop with us at carouselofproducts.com. We will have some Universal products coming in the not too distant future, so stay tuned for that. But thanks for watching, and go out there and enjoy Darkmoor.